Hey everybody, it's your boy Robbo back again with my co-host and good friend Steele Saunders. How you doing today, Steele?
How you doing, Robbo? How I've missed you.
Oh, likewise. It's been a crazy couple of months for
It
everybody
has.
involved. Yeah.
Well, at my end, I moved, and now where I record is a lot closer to Harry's bedroom. So I've been
Mm.
trying to go through all these different solutions, soundproofing that's not going to turn the house into a shanty. So this is the first nighttime recording I have done, and so far
Oh,
it's going okay. I
yeah.
haven't had my little beast come out and demand attention. So
I mean, I would just look at it as like bonus material, right? You get like a peek behind the curtain, the Saunders household. A little bit of
yeah, some curtains you just I don't know if you want to peek behind that. Just he's a cutie. We're a happy little family. Just take my word for it. You don't need to see it. What we need to see and hear is our old buddy Robbo. And I believe today this is one for the books.
Mhm.
We're going to be talking about some new Star Wars content that I believe you are very happy, nay, overjoyed over, which is Star Wars
Yeah.
Visions.
Yeah. Like I always say, you know, you want to when a good thing shows up, you want to make sure that you're on top of it by no more than 30 days or something like that. So
40, 50,
yeah, it's okay,
whatever.
it's fine. Yeah, it's like no, it's I don't know whether people are still. I'm not really on Twitter much anymore, but I don't know whether like the discourse is still talking about the Visions series. But yeah, I think it went over pretty well, and it was nice to have some Star Wars animation out there where I felt like I was enjoying it as much as everybody else. So that was pretty cool.
Or more so in some cases.
Perhaps I don't know. I didn't see too many negative comments about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think insane Star Wars Twitter, it was sort of like people really liked it or were just like, whatever.
I mean, that's the cool thing about it being kind of like non-canon or quasi-canonical is that like people who don't like it don't feel like they have to like raise a stink about it. It's like, well, it didn't really happen,
Mm.
which is like how I try to handle everything that way. It's like
Now, just to set the stage, set the table, as it were, this is the Robbo Report, where Robbo and I chat Star Wars. It is episode 36. All episodes are available on the Patreon feed, which is just $3 per month. And this episode, as it's a divisible by 3, it will be up on all the feeds and on YouTube for people to sample and enjoy.
this is
Like and
definitely one that
subscribe.
yeah, indeed. This is definitely one to watch on YouTube and then to like and subscribe. Um, if you were already subscribed, unsubscribe and then subscribe again. That's probably better than doing nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually would just there is like in this whole YouTube thing, there is ways to game the system, but in my opinion, they lower your self-respect. So such
Yeah.
things as that, or the misleading thumbnail, and all. Like I just, you could get you more things, but it's like, is that the way I want to live? Not
I mean, the
really.
misleading thumbnail is a part of like a grand tradition of scammery and in general you know like advertising know-how, right?
And just the ones that are like massive Kenobi update, and it's just like
Yeah.
there's sand in it. Thanks, dude. Sand confirmed. Great. Yeah, so there's like the way out theory ones, like that are just taking that as like a leak, and then there's ones that are so vague, but they hype it up so much. But anyway, listen, thumbnail it's just me and Robbo talking about Star Wars Visions. Now, just give us your what was your favorite one, Robbo?
I don't know. It kind of changes all the time. Like, there's definitely, I feel like the ones I liked, made perhaps more than others. The other people, I should say, were I really liked the Village Bride uh, episode, and I liked the last one too, Akakiri, I think. And those are two like I felt like people kind of had like more subdued reactions to, perhaps. But I really liked them. I mean, I got to say, like, I kind of like him. One of my pet peeves about new Star Wars content is
One
how,
of your many pet peeves. Let's set the
well,
tone.
one of the relevant to this episode pet peeves is like there's a lot of Jedi around. Like, it seems like you've got to have more Jedi, even when there shouldn't be more Jedi, and they're just it's just wall to wall Jedi all the way down. And it's also like, I understand why, because it's like it's a sellable thing, right? It's like
Because
people are into
Jedi are sick, mate. That's why.
this. Sometimes, yeah. Like, what I like about the Jedi in this one, though, like I kind of wish that we went further afield from just the Jedi Sith stuff. But I understand why they did it the way they did, which is they wanted to kind of pay tribute to the sort of both the Japanese influence of Star Wars and like the kind of, I don't know what you would say, like the sort of inherent Japaneseness of some Star Wars concepts, and Jedi are kind of a big part of that. So I get that. But what I liked about this one is that you get all these stories about Jedi, and in all of them, the Jedi are out there like helping people and doing good. Like, there's not one single Jedi who like goes to his office and sits down and thinks about things. There's not one episode where the Jedi are like, well, we should help these people, but we can't because rules are rules. That's just how it is. This is exactly, a lot of these episodes are like, especially the two I mentioned, seem like much more like what I always kind of imagined the Jedi were doing with their lives. It's like going around like to different planets and helping people and getting into adventures and things like that aren't related to some kind of, you don't have Jedi come down. It's like, oh, there's like slavery and bad stuff on this planet. We should leave it all alone and go away. Like, that never would happen with any of these Jedi things. So I like that. I like that proactive Jedi.
The Jedi Prime Directive.
I mean, I know that's how all my heroes act, right? Like, look, I'm only going to get involved. The headquarters says it's okay. All right. But yeah, like it's really cool. Like I like that. So that was kind of like neat because I felt like we were getting away from sort of some of the cruft that had built up around the concept. And I get that. Again, before I know, I can hear you yelling from the future, people who are watching this or listening to this. And yes, I understand that like the point of a lot of those Jedi stories is that the Jedi had lost their way, that they were beleaguered, and that was the point. I get it. I'm not saying that that's bad or anything. It's cool in its own way. I just like, when little Robbo was imagining what the Jedi were up to, it wasn't that. It was more like this. And I don't know, like I would recommend people who are curious about the anime aspect of this, the Japanese animation aspect of it, to listen to the Blue Harvest Blue Harvest episode. Blue Harvest Adventures is not. You'll have to go back pretty far to hear that one.
Let's lighten up on the plugs. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not talking about I didn't mean to talk about the things I'm on. I'm saying there was an episode of Blue Harvest recently where
I despise plugs in all their forms.
I mean, you have your standards, Steele. I mean, I don't blame you, but I'm a shill. So
excellent.
But in this case, I'm just promoting something I like, which was an episode of Blue Harvest where they got together with it was Will and Hawes, and they got their buddy Steve in there, who's like knows a lot about Japanese animation, and they could talk about.
I was about to say, I heard that one, and then as I was about to say it, I was like, wait, you listened to it, like you never not listen to everyone, so why am I surprised? But I did. I heard that one.
Yeah, it's a good one, and that's a great so if you want to hear people talk about that stuff who really know the material better than I do, that's that's a good show to listen to. But what I can do is provide some like more historical context for both like the regular movies, not the animated ones, but like the period movies, the Jedi Geki cinema that Star Wars was drawing from, and that these cartoons are especially interested in kind of sort of reinserting into the Star Wars sort of universe, I guess.
Now,
And I know a little bit about that stuff, so I thought I might share some of it.
Robbo, if there's one thing I love, and that's like an arbitrary score or rating, I love it. I love a good score. You can choose the scoring method, platform, scale that you please, but what would you score the experience of watching Star Wars Visions?
For the entire thing?
The whole project, buddy. The whole season 1.
I mean, I would say that it was perhaps not as... I would say it's not as good as Mandalorian season 1 in terms of like just how happy it made me, but it was pretty close. And because it was like kind of like each episode was sort of its own thing, I would say, yeah, out of 10, I'll say 8.5. That's Robbo's lock of the week. So yeah. Sorry. Thank you for doing that for me. I don't have any arms or hands.
Oh, you're just a pink skull. We accept you for what you can do and what you can't do,
That means more to me you'll ever know, Steele.
Excellent. 8.5. That's pretty sweet. Now, I will tell you, part of my experience was it was hard for me to really get in to the stories with that they were all just like a one-off. My investment and thankfully, apparently, he's working on a more chapters or a more fleshed out movie or whatever. But the Ninth Jedi, that was the one that caught me as far as like, I want to know what these guys are up to next. Like, what are they gonna like? They're off on some interesting adventures, and I felt like that ensemble. They're always trying to come up with these new ensemble mixes, and I thought that one was sort of pretty original, and I had my interest.
It was pretty. I mean, I'll say like that one. I was kind of surprised that people seemed to be one of the breakout hits of the series. But when I rewatched it again, after that, I was like, okay, I definitely get this. Like the whole like speeder bike chase thing was first rate. I mean, that looked really good. And I really love like, they set it all up, right? Where he's like, the blade maker is saying like how he tuned them to respond to the user's personality, right? Which is very gimmicky, but it's it was made for that one scene where everybody lights up their blades and they're all red, right? Which I think was really cool looking. It kind of reminds me of the like tracking fobs in season 1 of The Mandalorian. Like that's just there. So you have that one scene where he's in the bar and everybody's fob like lights up, and it's like it's worth it for that, right? Like it's so cool.
That was like a scene in a Gossip Girl season finale where everyone's phones start beeping at the same time. Look what Chuck's up to. Now, like Gossip Girl, no good. Brittany,
I don't know. I don't know much about Gossip Girl.
It's good.
I've heard great things.
XOXO. Should we dip into your first bit of action or what's up?
Yeah. Before we do, I want to give like a warning about the content of the clips and in some cases the content of the films. Like these are often violent.
Okay.
But not. It's not. It's more violent than your typical Star Wars content, but not significantly more so. Like I'd say, like with one exception. It's about as violent as a walrus man getting his hand cut off.
Where does it rate compared to like the opening 10 minutes of the raid?
Oh man, I don't know. It's not that bad. Like these are short clips for the most part.
Okay, because I didn't make it through the first 10 minutes of the raid.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
So many guns. It was just like
no. This is more people getting killed with swords and stuff like that. So I just wanted to throw that out there in case you're watching with like a kid in the room. I don't want to traumatize anybody.
Got you.
Yeah.
Just backtracking. I don't mind the conceit of the person's spirit or personality or whatever, their goodness getting reflected through the lightsaber. Like that's something I could have like handled if that's the reason they came up that people had different lightsaber colors. Do you know what I mean? It sort of is because they corrupt it red or whatever, but I don't mind it.
I like it in this one because it's like, even if like whether it's canon or not canon or its own thing, it takes place in the future. And so I can just say like, well, it's not like that. It's not like Luke Skywalker's personality changed in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So that at one point his personality was blue, but then later it was green. Like it's more that in the future things are different. So whatever. And it's like a great scene. Like it's a great reveal. And at the end of the day, it's supposed to look cool. I really don't like the idea of like that was introduced in the comics of them, like, you know, the Sith like bleed kyber crystals. They like create pain and it turns it red because it's just like, come on, man. Like it's a red crystal. You picked it because it looks cool and evil. That's what you did. But, you know, whatever. Star Wars is constantly in flux and there's all kinds of bad ideas being added every day. So, you know, just get over it.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Yeah, some people really like that stuff too. So it's like, to me, it's a bad idea. To you, it might be the best idea ever.
I tell you what else I don't like is lightsaber lengths that can change. I'm not into that either.
That's canonical though. That's always been there from like movie one.
But do they have to adjust it somehow? I just don't want it to like. They have to open it up, get a screwdriver.
No, there's like I don't know which one of the fake
a hydro spanner
buttons, yeah. But like Darth Vader's lightsaber is obviously longer than Ben Kenobi's lightsaber.
Is it?
So, yeah, in the first movie, yeah. So not by much, but it's visibly longer. So I think that the way it was but when you get to the other movies he's in, it's the same length as Luke's saber. So
hey, fair's fair.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, it can't all be Power of the Force 2. Just rocking that giganto saber.
Well, you know how in Kenobi, it's going to be the rematch of the century. I'm just bringing that up to trigger you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They could have before that scene, they could do the tail of the tape and they could say what the length of each other's saber is. Do you know what I mean?
You got to compare, right?
Yeah. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi, 200 pounds, I don't know, whatever, 5'11".
Yeah.
Kenobi, like 30, 200 pounds. 36-inch saber.
Yeah. I mean, look, Darth Vader's lost a lot in his life. He might want to compensate for some things. Let's give him a break.
Can you blame him?
No, exactly.
So again, just to recap, warning: extreme violence coming your way.
Yeah,
on the Robbo Report.
Brief, but extreme violence, but not like as extreme. So, this is a clip from the movie Yojimbo, which was released in 1961. The name literally just means bodyguard. It stars Toshiro Mifune, who is like the samurai of this period of cinematic history. It's directed by Akira Kurosawa, who is probably outside of Japan the most famous director of these period movies. And the duel borrowed a lot of stuff from this, even more than I'm going to show you. But when you see it, I think you'll get a very good idea of why this one sprung to mind immediately. So you can go ahead and hit play.
Kurosawa is he's like Japanese Macquarie. You know, you reference that. Like it's Kurosawa, Seven Samurai, Macquarie, Concept Art, Spider. All right, let's go.
Yeah, every time I hear that harpsichord, I feel like the monster is about to roll right into town.
It does sound a bit like the Monsters.
Yeah. So there's Mifune. And if you think it's weird that a dude is like scratching his scalp in the first scene, that's intentional.
Oh, is it?
It's just trying to tell you everything Kurosawa does and everything Mifune does in their respective careers is intentional.
He's walking like he's itchy now. Has he got a rash?
No, it looks a little weird because his hands are inside of his kimono, which leaves the kimono sleeves to just kind of flop around in the wind.
So how he's walking here, is that where Lucas got the idea to have his characters walk in scenes?
Yes. He was like, walking is the thing that looks really great on film. So we should do a lot of it.
Helps the story.
But I would say that the kind of the long takes that Kurosawa liked to establish things were definitely inspirational to Star Wars. So here he's just deciding where to go. So this is not a samurai anymore. He's a Ronin.
So he just threw his. I couldn't work out why he just threw a stick in the air. I was
just deciding which direction to go. He came to a fork in the road. You could pause it for a second so I can explain a little bit. I did that screen wipe myself, by the way, but Kurosawa did those too. So, so he's playing. Mifune's playing a character who goes by the fake name Sanjuro, which just means roughly like it's like 30 years old, but turned into a name. So Sanju is 30, and the row is just kind of turns it into kind of a name, I think. And the idea, he's like the inspiration for the Man with No Name character that Clint Eastwood made famous. And also kind of an inspiration for the Django character from other spaghetti westerns. And
Django Fett,
which is goes back to, it goes full circle. It's like poetry. It's circular, and
it raps.
So when you see to us, it doesn't look like much. But for a Japanese person to see this movie, that beginning of the movie in the cinema, with that, there's a lot of cues there that are telling you what kind of person this is, what his life is like, and what situation he's in right now. So
the viewer can say, "Oh, I'm itchy. I've been itchy once before in my life.
Yeah,
I can relate to this.
I can relate to the itchiness." George Lucas took a lot of inspiration from that. He put characters in the itchiest costumes possible to try and get some of that. Some of that Mifune energy out of him.
Some space agitation.
Yeah, exactly. So, so what you're seeing is like, you see him like itching his scalp. It's like drawing attention to his hair, which is unkempt. It's in a samurai kind of top knot style, but it's not.
What a tosser.
It's been okay. So
I do have to say, I have to. Yeah. Like the top knot, like in Australia, it's like a plague and very frowned upon. And however, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, he goes the top knot. And what am I going to, how am I going to like argue with that? Like, it's the American Dragon.
It works for you or it doesn't, like it's interesting because in a lot of times in these samurai movies, they will have the top knot because that's what the characters of that, social position, that social case would be wearing, but they usually don't go the full, kind of the full top knot Monty, which is like a shaved kind of like intentional baldness, like a shaved top of the hair. And then the top knot, and then the round. That's usually not done. If it's done, it's kind of your signal that this is like a person who still has a job and is important in life. And that's not the case with this character. You do see also like his kimono is in rough shape, but it's got these like black circles. Those are the crest of whatever lord he used to serve A black crest, I understand, indicates like a very high status person. But now he has no job. He's just walking the earth like Sam Jackson.
I gotta say, you see the back of his head, and because he's not itching it, I barely recognized him.
Yeah, you almost don't know, like scene to scene. There's some continuity errors there, Steele. I'm glad you picked that out.
Okay.
So he's walking into town, and you know you're in a good place when the streets are empty and everybody opens their windows to stare at you. That's always like a good sign for travelers.
It's very Mandalorian episode 9
Mm-hmm.
with Cobb Vanth. They walk into town and they're all staring at him.
So this is one of the most famous introductory
Dogs?
scenes, and take a close look at that, Steele.
Oh my god. He's got Luke Skywalker's hand in his mouth.
I know.
This is like poetry at rhyme. So there's a dog just ran past with a hand in its mouth. That is a vibe check.
Yeah, that is a vibe. That's exactly what you're seeing. That's a major vibe check right there.
All
So that's like kind of your introduction. So that whole story goes on. It's just that character who's a masterful samurai. He's kind of like it's like if you get movies about like boxers who had to retire and now they're nobodies, but they used to be somebody. It's kind of like that, but there's like more of a stigma attached to it. Like if your master was killed in battle or betrayed or something, you're supposed to technically kill yourself just because you've lost your purpose in life, and that's what the code of the. But I'm guessing that few people did that. They probably just did what this guy did, which is like, all right, I'm checking out. I'll see you later. Like, I'll walk the earth and try to do good.
So is that where George got his fascination with chopping hands off, or what?
It could be. I mean, he definitely saw this movie. Like a lot of people saw this movie. That's why it was ripped off so often in the 60s. And it's the Fistful of Dollars is not quite a shot for shot remake, but it's a basically plot point for plot point remake, but it's in the Old West and stars Clint Eastwood. And Toho Studios, who put out this movie, they sued whatever company released Fistful of Dollars. I'm assuming they settled out of court for a generous settlement, but yeah, it's very much but it's also like this movie is deliberately playing up some of the Western, like I mean the movie genre tropes too. It's kind of like trying, like, I think my understanding of it is that at this point in his career, Kurosawa had already directed many famous samurai movies that were often compared to Westerns of like the John Ford style. So like Seven Samurai was already turned into the Magnificent Seven at this point. And there's a kind of a funny, famous story about John Ford meeting Kurosawa at some function or other. And Kurosawa asked him, "Have you seen my movies?" And John Ford said, "Yeah, you like rain." Which and then Kurosawa says, "Yeah, you have seen him. All right, great." So because he's very fond of having just like torrential downpours at pivotal moments in the movies. And so the thought was that when he made Yojimbo, he's like, okay, you're gonna say I'm like trying to do Western style movies, like, okay, I'll make this super Western. And that's very much it. Like you show up at a town where the story is basically like the town is divided between two rival gangs, and they're just like, this guy goes in and pretends like he's gonna just give his services to the highest bidder, but he's always switching sides, trying to get close enough to the big guys on top that he can kill them and kind of free the town from their influence. The film takes place interestingly.
Sorry.
The film takes place in kind of shortly before the samurai class was abolished. I'm not really sure what the significance of that is to the story, but something to think about. So the next clip is from a movie called Lady Snowblood, which was released in 1973. Japanese title was Shoryuki Hime, which literally I think means fighting snow princess, which almost sounds even cooler, but not quite. Stars Meiko Kaji, who's kind of like a Japanese 70s exploitation film sort of mainstay, and it was directed by Toshiya Fujita. So if you're thinking that any of this inspired Kill Bill, that's exactly what it did. It's probably this one movie that has more DNA in Kill Bill than anything else. It is a kill crazy quest for bloody revenge. And visually stunning, I might say. So this is pretty cool. You might want to watch this.
Is it going to be violence?
I am sorry to say yes.
Can you translate, Robbo?
Get out of the way.
Oh, she just did a front flip with an umbrella. Oh,
Yeah,
there's an arm
cut off
gone,
a dude's
guys.
arm. So she pulled a blade out of her umbrella stem. It was hidden in there. So this guy's got a cigarette, which gives you an idea of what time period this takes place in.
Cigarette times.
And Lady Snowblood.
God.
And then this like Super Mario looking dude steps out. So the fact that they have swords in this time period, actually, this is kind of even later than the last movie. And if they have swords, they're kind of breaking the rules, but they are important enough to do that.
Is it breaking the rule to have a sword come out your back, or what's up with that?
Not for the guy who's getting the sword come out his back. No, I mean, he didn't really do.
Because he would be in violation if so.
Yeah, I think he's definitely messing up the street.
Because he really got sworded then.
Yeah, he got sorted good. So, like if you don't know why I picked this one, you didn't watch The Duel, the first episode of Visions. Blades hidden in canes, fans, and stuff are pretty common in these kinds of movies. This is the only one I knew of where somebody took a blade out of an umbrella. But that's definitely what they're calling back to. You recognize the song, it was used in Kill Bill, and it's sung by Meiko Kaji herself.
Wow.
I hesitate to recommend this film because it deals with some really heavy stuff in not particularly sensitive ways. So don't.
What a combo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it all comes down to, doesn't it? Like, just know what you're getting into. But if you're sensitive about the very real and not funny issues of sexual assault, do not watch this movie. I don't recommend it because it's very much one of those kinds of revenge movies. But that's definitely the movie that they were, I think, getting the weaponized umbrella from that you see in The Duel. Still talking about The Duel, since that's kind of the most clearly stylized. We can might want to pause it here. So I got to kind of the Jedi Geki cinema from the 1950s and 60s is what sort of inspired The Duel. And outside of Japan, we kind of use that word Jedi Geki to mean all samurai movies or any movie with samurai in it. In Japan, it just means like historical drama or period drama.
So can you say that word again?
Jedi Geki.
So is it Jedi at the start or what?
It's a Jedi. So Jidai would be the romanization of it. And there's speculation that that's what Lucas took the name Jedi from, but I don't really know for sure that he would have even heard that term. Even if he definitely saw some of these movies in film school, but I don't know that they would have known to call them Jedi Geki. That seems kind of oddly specific. In Japan, they would call them chambara, which doesn't mean anything. It's more like onomatopoeia for the sound of swords hitting each other. Chambara, like that. And
that's not as cool sounding as Jedi.
No, but what is? Akira Kurosawa, as I said, is kind of the most popular director outside of Japan. Inside Japan, he's just one of many celebrated creators in this.
He's one of the top directors to pretentiously reference.
Definitely. I will say that I've seen most of his movies.
Oh, here we go.
Being pretentious.
Here we go.
And to be extra pretentious, I'll say that the samurai movies are not always it's definitely worth checking out his kind of Yakuza movies. And I would say particularly Drunken Angel and High and Low are good examples. But also his one of his later movies, Dreams, is very, very good. And it's kind of like a weird sort of tone poem, like series of short films. that I think is really cool. It's got Martin Scorsese in it, and he as playing the part of Vincent Van Gogh. So you don't get to see that every day. He does an okay job, but so a lot of these movies take place in the Sengoku period, which is like roughly like 1460 to about 1600, and that's a very common setting for this kind of movie from like the 50s and 60s. I think it might have something to do with the fact that that is like it's a very sort of dark time in Japanese history. It's like sort of a power vacuum. It's like the fall of the old shogun government, and pretty much anybody you wanted to kind of try to seize power for themselves through war could do it. And I think that's why you see a lot of these episodes of Visions referencing past wars that had just wrapped up, and you're seeing the sort of the detritus or the results or the leftovers of that war. And that's in almost all of them that deal with like the strong samurai Jedi themes. It's kind of a weird, kind of the main themes of these movies are like just general lawlessness, like this broken feudal contract where the Lord's supposed to protect their subjects, the farmers especially, and they don't because they're too busy making wars on other warlords, or I think the exact term is daimyo, which just means basically like local leader, noble person. The chaos also permits a degree of social mobility at this time period. So you have historical figures like Hideyoshi Toyotomi, who was a farmer, I think, at the beginning of his life, and he died an important feudal lord in a big castle, yet still dead. So, you know, your mileage may vary.
Now, Robbo, you seem to know an incredible amount of detail about this. How?
Couple reasons. Like number one, like I learned a lot of stuff first just by watching a lot of movies. When I left high school as soon as I possibly could, and started kind of like a college light. And the first place I went to had a great library with a lot of laser discs of Japanese movies and foreign movies of all over the place, really. And I watched everything I could. And so I learned stuff gradually that way. I've been to Japan several times. My wife is Japanese, and my son is actually a history buff, so he loves a lot of stuff. So sometimes I'm talking about things that he mentioned to me himself that I didn't know about. So he told me and a few other kind of interesting things that don't have much to do with the cartoons, but he said that this time period is the sort of the introduction of firearms to Japan, and it kind of not coincidentally is the kind of the classic Japanese castle design. That's the time period that this comes from. He also said that there's a lot of peasant rebellions, which he said are referred to as iko-iki. And these are kind of interesting because they have the most Jedi-like character you'll find in Japanese history, who is a Buddhist priest named Renyo, who didn't fight exactly, but he built a fortress on what is now the site of Osaka Castle, which is where like rebels, these like peasant rebels, could seek refuge from the authorities. Again, he's not a warrior, but he kind of like championed their cause in a lot of ways, freedom fighter type cause. There were warrior monks at the time. Yeah.
Can I? Is Osaka Castle a real thing?
It's there. It's still there. It still exists today. Yeah.
Okay, go on. I just want to look that up.
It's really cool. I've been there. It's awesome. So there were warrior monks, which you think would be very Jedi-like. They're called Sohei. But when I look them up, they sound cool, but I think they mainly just harassed and killed other Buddhists from rival traditions. I think they're like more Sith-like than anything. Not exactly samurai.
I've been there.
Yeah. Well, you know.
No, I've been to the Osaka Castle.
Oh, you've been there? Okay, great.
Yeah.
I thought you'd been there like killing people from rival religious traditions. I was like, no. I'll let you take that one.
I think one of the things I remember is in the hallways, the wood was made with some sort of built-in creek.
Oh yeah.
So ninjas couldn't sneak around, which is just dope.
Are you sure it was Osaka Castle or was it Himeji Castle?
Himeji is
the one that. Yeah.
One of the castles had built-in creek. I know that, buddy.
think they're called cricket boards in English. But yeah, that's exactly. This is also the time period where like the kind of the heyday of the ninja comes from. And ninja are also sort of like Jedi in this time period, but not exactly. I would say that in some senses they were like freedom fighters. In other senses, they were kind of like hillbillies who lived in the mountains and were able to govern themselves for a time period because it was very difficult to reach them, and they got very good at doing all kinds of spy-like stuff, espionage and things.
Hey, in Japan, have you been to that gold house? It's like on the water. It's like a temple or a building that's like gold.
What city is it?
I can't remember which one.
I've been to. It's not on the water. I've been to.
No. It's on. It's like there's like a creek around. You know, it's like a.
Is it like the Imperial Palace?
No, I don't know. I can't remember. It was like where you I think it was on the day where you went and fed deer that like are at the temples and stuff like that. Like, so I think that's maybe out of Tokyo. But anyway, they had this gold-plated house on this lake, and when we were going there, I'm like, why would you that's it's a waste of money. But I gotta tell you, when you see a gold-plated house, it does look pretty good. It is. It's like you just like it's just the whole thing's got it does radiate the light like quite like it's almost worth doing for how good it does look. So keep that in mind if you're doing any home renovation.
As the late great Chester J. Lampwick said, as long as I have my rocket car and solid gold house, I don't need anything else.
Okay.
So
wait. Speaking of rockets, had you seen that rocket Boba Fett from Celebration 4?
I heard you talking about it. I have not seen it.
Oh, dude. I've got to see it.
I do want to see it. Yeah. Everybody, that's another endorsement. Check it out. I will later. So this next movie is called in English called Samurai from Nowhere, 1964. And this one, I'd say it deals with some themes that you see in The Duel, but also that you see in The Village Bride. Yeah,
people are just getting brutally harmed. Like the guy gets like a spear through him or something and then falls off the shed. It's just like itchy and scratchy.
This is a fascinating movie that I did not see until I was researching for this episode. It's somebody put it all the way up on like the whole thing up on YouTube. And it's like about another Ronin played by a guy named Osamu Nagato. And it explains the Ronin concept very, very well, much better than the Kurosawa movies do. So it's about a disgraced samurai who elopes with a young woman from his lord's court to kind of prevent her from becoming that lord's consort, which is, she doesn't want to do. And then he becomes an outlaw because you've just broken your oath, right? So this guy, the badass dude with the ponytail, he is another Ronin from a different kind of area, and they fought each other in essentially like feudal Japan.
Wait,
pro
who's
wrestling.
The guy? Wait. Yeah. Who's the guy behind him? But what's going on? There's like another dude. There he is.
Yeah, that's the other dude is the main character. The guy who's in the middle right now is the other guy. And
why is there two guys?
He betrays them at first.
Wait,
he tells.
Which one's which? Which was the guy that saved the girl?
That's the guy at the far left right now.
Oh, Jesus. Whoa. A dude just got a blade right up the nostril.
Yeah. Nice diagonal line from his chin to his forehead. Yeah. So this guy actually sold them out. They were trying to sneak across some kind of territorial border with his wife, which you see right here. And the guy who just killed everybody sold them out. and then and collected his money, his bounty for that, and then he comes back, and then after they've been discovered, he kills all the guys who just tried to stop them. It's kind of like his way of saying like, I need the money because none of them have jobs. What this guy mutters right here is something kind of like a good job or employment or something like that. He's another person who is like kind of on the. So what you see here, right? Okay, go ahead, Steele.
You got to question the balding man with the top knot.
That's what I was talking about earlier, by the way. That's he probably, even if he weren't balding, he would have shaved his head to look like that. That was the style at the time. Tied an onion to your belt and you shaved your head. So you see him carrying his wife on his back. That's, I think, something that was done kind of normally in those days.
Really?
And you see it, that's where you see, not always, like there's other times in this movie where you see them walking just right next to each other normally, but kind of the idea is like he's giving her a break. She's got to wear like the much more restrictive clothing, and they've got a long way to go, so he's carrying her on his back.
Yeah, well, like when you see things from yesteryear, and you're like, like imagine not having a washing machine or something, not having an iPod, whatever. Carrying your wife around all the time, that's a tough trip to the shops.
Yeah. If you're traveling along these mountain paths and you are not rich enough to have like a horse or like servants who can carry you in like a little like kind of hand carriage, that's how the movie ends, by the way, then yeah, that might be something you would do. They don't have a lot of money at this point. They're just looking for a better life. They're dressed in nice clothes because he got a job offer earlier in the movie, and then the person who offered them the job found out that he had competed in some fights for money against that guy who killed everybody at the beginning of the clip, and that's like a shameful, disgraceful thing. So the offer gets rescinded, but the guy who made the offer feels sorry for him and lets him keep the clothes and stuff, so he looks less shabby, then they leave. So,
do these films have like more subplots than an average film?
No, I don't think so. Like what I just described is like kind of the whole movie. You find out what people's motivations are sort of as it goes along. What I'm trying to explain is like the sort of the tropes and assumptions that go into these genre films that outside of Japan the audience might not know, but they do show up in the Visions shorts in kind of weird ways. So in some cases, in this case, it was mostly like the concept of the Ronin, which you see in the Duel, like a masterless Jedi in that sense. You don't know what he did wrong. Maybe it says more in the novel. I haven't read it yet, but there's something he separated himself from the righteous path, and now he's kind of making his own way through the world, has his own agenda. But then also like the thing where you see somebody in the Village Bride carrying his bride to be up a mountain to do some kind of ritual and carrying her on his back. And I just thought that was, when I saw that, I was like, I wonder if that's a Japanese thing or that's something they invented for the show. And then I, while I was looking for that, I stumbled across this movie and ended up watching the whole thing and really being impressed by the kind of the way it boils down a lot of those concepts, historical concepts. So this next one is probably this clip is also, I would say, definitely inspired the ending of The Village Bride. And it's probably the most famous duel in Japanese cinema. You can leave it on because they just stand. So yeah, it's the sequel to the first clip we saw, the Yojimbo. It's the same character, Sanjuro, the Ronin. This is the very end of the movie. This is another samurai named Hanbei, who's played by Tatsuya Nakarai. And he's been kind of embarrassed and shamed and humiliated by Sanjuro, and he's demanding they do it. I don't know whether this was the intent, but they're standing way too close to each other. And I think it might be a signal that this guy is like way too personally invested in what's happening. He's not thinking straight. He's demanding they duel.
It sounds like a sound clip between Wu-Tang tracks.
Oh, yeah. You think your Wu-Tang style can defeat me?
On guard.
For listeners of a certain age, that may I know what you're hearing right now.
Tiger style.
So he's insisting that they fight. He's like, I can't live the rest of my life knowing that I lost you. So we see them slowly bring their arms out of their sleeves. They usually keep them kind of in the front, casually resting them inside. They slowly bring them out, and everybody's just watching. So
everybody else looks like cardboard standees. I've got to tell you.
Well, they're. Well, I don't want to just wait for it. It's worth it.
Violence coming. Oh.
Look at everybody's face. So, okay, so
you got to describe what just happened then, buddy. That was.
I mean, I think people can understand when they listen to the gushing sound effect, right? Where it sounds like somebody just severed a fire hose.
I am glad that film's in black and white because
yeah,
that amount of red. It's sort of like the Kenobi Darth Maul
in Rebels,
yeah, just like one stroke, but unlike that, it just like a fire hydrant of blood starts pouring out of his poor tummy.
Yeah, so a lot of interesting things about this fight. Okay, number one, the geyser of blood was an accident. They could only do this once, and they got the guy rigged up with like a tube.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was supposed to be like a spray, right? It's supposed to be like what you would realistically, if you cut somebody like that, you get like some. He's not being cut through like any like pulmonary artery or anything. It shouldn't be like a gigantic fire hose of blood. It should, but there was a problem. There's like maybe too much pressure in the device or something like that, and so it just went everywhere. And amazingly enough, like the people all in the scene all keep a straight face. They don't know that was going to happen, but it's a miracle that it worked.
I do want to just go back and watch the reaction shots of those dudes.
Can you watch it in slow-mo? Because that's like the only way to understand what Mifune's character is doing.
I can drag it slowly.
That's fine.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, everybody just looks like, oh
there
god.
Look at this frame you get it on. It is, there is blood like a meter away from him.
Yeah, I mean, now it was like going that.
There's a blood spurt of about 6 meters here. It's very impressive. Oh, whoa! It just gets
yeah.
And then all the posses posted up watching it, just like, oh, dude, they are blown away. And the dude that just spat out a few liters of blood, he seems stressed. I've got to tell you, his face, he's had better days.
I don't think he knows what to do now. There's it's a standard thing in samurai movies, but people have a way of like standing still for a couple seconds after they die and then they fall. It doesn't make any sense, but it always looks great.
Yeah.
So that
samurai films and pro wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta play it for the cheap seats. So the move that Sanjuro does there was invented for this film. The normal drawing cut was decided by the filmmakers to be way too slow. And I think that's part of the reason why they're standing so close together is to enable him to do what he does. They actually found their consulting a consultant and Iaido master. Iaido is like a martial art that is only about drawing a sword and killing people with the first as you're drawing it out, right? They just like quick draw artists. That's what they do. So they talked to one of these guys and said, can you create some kind of faster way of killing somebody with a sword? And what he came up with is what you see Mifune do in this scene, where he kind of draws the sword with his left hand and draws the blade kind of sideways and then uses his free hand to keep that blade steady as he kind of drags it across the other guy's belly and like kind of chest area. It's very weird. It's not a thing that was normal, but it's like the idea is that Sanjuro is a guy he's not a real samurai anymore. He has nothing to lose, and he'll do whatever it takes to survive.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, we've all been there. Yeah. So
True.
anyway, very famous scene, and that is definitely what they're thinking about, and both in that Rebels sequence that you mentioned, and also in the very end of the Village Bride, where the what's her name? She's a funny name. I mean, that is I think that's my favorite one. I gotta say, the Village Bride is my favorite one. I love everything about it, but especially the end where she's like decides like, okay, she cuts her little Jedi braid. You know, it's like, okay, now I'm a real Jedi. Now I'm going to do a real Jedi thing, and she's also got those like robo pumps that allow. I guess I don't know whether they allow her to go really fast or what, but to me, like that whole thing is great, and it goes into the next clip, which is from the movie Hidden Fortress from 1958, another Kurosawa film, and this was the one that inspired very heavily the very first draft of Star Wars. I think it's overstated how much it inspired the finished Star Wars, but these two characters, these are kind of like ne'er-do-well kind of former farmers who have tried to
Oh my
find
God.
a life of, yeah.
They're talking about the Fire Festival.
Yeah, you never knew, right? Ludacris is
Wow.
right around the corner.
Ludacris Nelly, wasn't
I don't know. It might be another has-been.
it? No, it was Ja Rule. It was Ja Rule.
Oh, Ja Rule, not Ludacris. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ludacris. Ja Rule. Look, it was what it was.
Dude, have you seen those Fire Festival documentaries?
Incredible. Yeah.
Sorry, Jackie? It was Ja Rule. Yeah.
Yeah, Ja Rule. So, my bad.
was
My
Ja
bad. Sorry.
Yeah, living it up. Yeah. Yeah.
In my opinion,
sure.
the poor man's DMX. Just putting that out there. So yeah, these two characters are kind of the guys who inspired the
of
original.
course he's the poor man's DMX. He lost all his money on the festival. They made 2 documentaries about it. Dude, he's such a lovable idiot. Like, he's so amped. He's like, yeah, let's drink tonight. We drink. Our festival's going down the tubes, but tonight we drink.
I mean, what would you do?
I'd get on a jet ski and just think about it.
The perfect place to do some heavy thinking, by the way, on a jet ski. So these two guys, you'll notice one's kind of like on the shorter and stockier side, another one's on the taller and lankier side. They are the inspirations for R2 and 3PO.
Of course.
The very first Star Wars script, they were not droids, they were bureaucrats. They were like imperial bureaucrats who had fled a battle and were trying to escape. And but the characterization did not change significantly once they became droids. And what you're seeing here is they're trying to. So the whole story of this movie is these two guys are they stumble across a pile of what looks like firewood, and they accidentally break open one of the sticks and realize it's got like gold bars inside, like little like thin. They look like kind of like gold bookmarks actually, and those are all that remains of the family fortune of a great noble family that has been defeated in war, and the only remaining surviving member of the family is this young girl named Princess Yuki, who's played by Misa Uehara. You might recognize a still from this movie where Misa's holding like a stick, like a switch above her head, and kind of like bending it like she's going to smack somebody in the head with it. They use that for like some of the concept art for Rey before they really had finalized the story. In fact, they used it more than once. So they went back to this movie when they were trying to come up with The Force Awakens, but you know, that image didn't really end up meaning anything, but it's an interesting thought. And so they find this gold, and then Mifune, who's also in this movie, he plays a guy named General Rokuroto Makabe, who's very much the inspiration for the General Kenobi character from the original movie. And he finds them out. Like, he discovers them and says, okay, now you know our secret. We're trying to smuggle this family's riches into friendly territory, so the this noble family, this noble house will survive. And he says, since you know the secret, your choices are I can kill you or you can help us out. And so they help them out. And as they're trying to make their way across the border out of the enemy territory, they stumble across these people who are carrying big, giant cords of firewood to a fire festival.
Yeah. Tonight we drink. Yeah.
Have your cheese sandwich and you'll like it. Seriously, watch those documentaries. They're amazing. They're trying.
Just watch the Netflix one first, and then the Hulu one second. That's what I'd do.
It's like your own personal, like a fire festival machete order right there.
And because I think the Netflix one is that the one that was made by F. Jerry.
I don't know.
There was one, and they were like the Instagram account that became like an advertising agency. They were involved with promoting the festival, and then they were involved with one of the documentaries. And I think that's the Netflix one, and it lets them off the hook quite a bit. But on the Hulu one, it's got a guy that used to work for them that just burns them. Just like, oh yeah, we knew it was going to be it was a disaster. But yeah, so watch Netflix one first, Hulu one second. Very good. Sorry, Robbo, continue.
Yeah, anyway, in this scene, so they're about ready to be like the bad guys